Hi everybody, Laura here for Concord 9th. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to bring you the reveal of the new April release, but before we get into the new products, I wanted to introduce you to the gorgeous new colors that Concord 9th is releasing this month. New cardstock and new matching ink. Starting with the pinks, we have Dragon Fruit. Next we have Sweet Pea, and then we have Carnation, and that perfect little spectrum of pretty pinks that pack a punch. Pinks number 2, we have Briar Rose and Pink Lemonade. And I'm going to bring in a couple other pinks just to show you how these two pinks pair well with others. I'm bringing in Ballet Slipper on the left, and then in the middle, Carnation. So you can see how they kind of work well with one another, and you can mix and match and fill in all the gaps. Okay, 4 new oranges: Nectar, Clementine, Spice Cider, and Cayenne. So this collection is full of rustic and earthy orange tones. I really love that light nectar. 2 new yellows, we have Honeycomb and Sunflower. And then when I bring in Buttercup, you can see in the middle, just fits right in. Over on the left, I brought in Stardust. So you can see how that rounds out these happy bursty yellows. Next, greens: Artichoke, Avocado, and Lemongrass. A collection of earthy olive tones that I love. 2 new blue-greens: Juniper and Tide Pool. Now I'm bringing in a few to show you how they pair. This is Sea Glass, works great with Juniper. Over on the left we have Peacock. Look at that next to Tide Pool. So you really can, depending on what you put next to it, come up with fun combinations. 3 new blues: Powder, Harbor, and Blueberry. And then I'm anchoring and bringing in Midnight over on the right there, and look at how that just rounds out this perfect blue spectrum. Now I know this one here has been highly anticipated: purples: Grape Soda, Fig, and Lilac. These are captivating, and some are warm, some are cool. Over on the left, I'm bringing in Eggplant. See how that looks next to the Grape Soda. A lot of fun to be had with the purples. Okay, some new neutrals. We have Nutmeg, Cobblestone, and Pebble. Okay, I want to show you how these look next to older colors. Bringing in Mushroom here, which kind of rounds out those grays. And then over here we have Wheat, and that pairs great with the Nutmeg. And that finishes off this quick little overview of the new colors coming out this month with Concord 9th. So you've got the cardstock, the matching ink pads, and there's also little mini ink cubes. Hi everyone, welcome to the introduction to the new Flower Press stencil pack. This is a beautiful layering stencil set. There are 4 stencils in the pack. On the back of the packaging, it shows you how beautiful this design comes together. So I'm going to take the stencils out of the packaging to show you what they look like individually. Now you don't have to use all 4 stencils. They do look beautiful when you use all 4 together, but you do have the option to use them individually if you so desire. So I'm going to show you what this looks like and demonstrate how to stencil it. Now I like to use layering stencils in my MISTI. I just always bump them down on the bottom right corner of my MISTI, and I know I'm going to lock it into place every time, but there's a lot of different ways you can set up your layering stencils. I'm also going to mask off all these little dots just with some temporary tape. Certainly don't have to do that at all. You could blend this whole stencil one color and make it very easy, but I wanted to make those dots a different color, so that's why I taped over them for now. So I'm going in with a new color. This is Tide Pool, and again, everything I'm doing is customizable. You could make these two-toned. You could do one side Tide Pool and the other side Juniper. Of course, I am doing just a bit of gradient blending. So I'm going to go over all of these with a light, even wash, like so. And then I'm going to go in the center of the bloom. Just give it a little once over, and that's going to make the centers a little bit darker. See what I'm doing here? A little bit heavier handed right there in the center with the same color Tide Pool, and it just gives you that gradient love. Again, totally optional. You don't have to spend so much time. It's foolproof, a gorgeous organic design, and you can't go wrong. Now I'm going to take this off and just wipe it really quick, take off that tape and clean off the Tide Pool, because now I'm coming in with another new color, Sunflower, and I didn't want to get any of that Tide Pool ink mixed in with my little sunflower dots. So that's why I did a quick little wipe down. And then this time I'm using the little Concord 9th blender brushes, which are great for getting in smaller areas. So that didn't take much time at all. And now I don't believe that these stencils are numbered. You don't have to go in any specific order. This time I'm starting with Nectar. This is another new color that I was very excited. It's like the most subtle, perfect kiss of peach. And I just love it. It looks so good with Tide Pool. I think Nectar can almost be like a neutral. I think Nectar can work with any color. It's like a good pair of jeans. And I'm probably going to say that about every color, but I really am excited about Nectar, as you can tell. Again, so I did a light wash and then I went a little heavier handed along the base of that bloom. Now I'm doing the little centers of the previous blooms with Cayenne. And now Cayenne is a lot more intense. You don't need much pressure. It's nice and juicy and it looks good with Tide Pool. Okay, we're on stencil number 3. This one here's an older color, an oldie but a goodie, Honeysuckle. Honeysuckle never lets me down. I really feel like, here, I'm going to say it again, Honeysuckle could be a neutral. You could pair it with any color. But it does look great, especially great with Nectar. Keep that in mind. Nectar and Honeysuckle. Can't go wrong. I'm going to be talking later about color swatching. And then this is where you're going to remember this. So swatch it out. Nectar and Honeysuckle. Remember it. Now for a neutral, because I have all this color, I wanted to start bringing in some neutral. So I brought in Cobblestone. It's another new one. It's just kind of a rich, cool gray, I would say. You don't have to, I know these are little blooms or whatever they are. You probably wouldn't think to do that with Cobblestone. But yet here I am, rocking a Cobblestone bloom. Okay, we're on to the last stencil. And I'm keeping this one very, very light. These are almost look like little daisies, which I probably would keep white, but you got to have a little color to know that they're there. So I pulled out Powder. Another almost nothing color powder. It's perfect. Powder, again, Powder and Nectar. Lock it down. Remember it. I think that's going to be a good combo. Okay, look at when I lift this up, and then I'm going to trim this out. Is that not dreamy? And you could do this in a million different color combinations. So I turned this into a card, and I did another one with different colors over on the right. So I added a Big Hug Sentiment, which is from the Just Say More dies, and then a few little enamel dots for embellishment. Now the second card, it's the same stencil, same process of ink blending. I just switched out the colors, little lemongrass, carnation, clementine there. I did a Hello word die cut from the Triple Step Posy print. And that is the introduction to the Flower Press Stencil Pack. Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the new Just Say More die set with Concord 9th. And here is what the die set looks like. As you can see, you get a lot in it. There are 4 big word dies along with several layering wonky hearts. On the back of the packaging, you can really see what the word dies say. You have Celebrate You, Big Hugs, Take Care, and Hi. And these, I would say, for me personally, are my most used, like the go-to sentiments that you're going to use very often. So take a look at this jumbo oversized heart. I love the kind of like wonkiness of it. And then all these smaller ones of various sizes that you can layer and scatter. And so now all the word dies have that shadow backer that you can layer together with the word die. You can also use the word die without the shadow backer. So you have options. The shadow backer allows you to, give a little pop of color if you want to. I've created 2 cards showcasing the Just Say More dies. This first one, that big old jumbo heart, I die cut the high right into it, and behind it I layered up some strips of Concord 9th solid color cardstock. And then we have a Take Care card. On the background I stamped that using the Triple Step Posy print. I layered all these little various hearts and I scattered some enamel dots on them, and then a simple white Take Care word die without the shadow backer. And there you have a closer look at the Just Say More dies. Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the new Mod Turnabout Stamp. And here she is in all her retro glory. If you're familiar with Concord 9th, then you know about their turnabouts and how unique they are. On the back of the packaging, it shows you how this design comes together when you stamp it once, stamp it 2 times, 3 times, and then 4 times fills in all the gaps for that fun mod pattern. I'm going to demonstrate how this works, starting with Tide Pull ink. Now I have a panel of white cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's loaded into my MISTI using the Turnabout jig, or the all-in-one jig, and then I have my mod stamp lined up using that jig as well. I'm stamping it with Tide Pull. I do sometimes use a little stamp press to help me get even pressure when I'm, trying to cover such a large area, and that turned out beautifully. One thing I do want to note is that these Concord 9th inks do smooth out as they dry. So if you feel like it might be a little bit splotchy, give it a minute to dry and you'll be surprised how much it does smooth out. So I rotated my panel so that it says 2 up in the top right corner. This time I'm inking up with Nectar, which is the most beautiful, easy breezy color. It pairs with anything, especially Tide Pull. Now, if you've got your stamp lined up correctly, you're going to want to use the all-in-one jig. It will line up this mod pattern so effortlessly. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. Okay, rotating that stamp again so it says 3 in the upper right corner. Going to clean off my stamp and bring in another color. This time I'm using Juniper. Now you don't have to use 4 different colors. You can do this all in one color, or 3 or 2, whatever you desire. You can mix and match for a million different color combinations. So I can already tell this Juniper, certain areas didn't get full coverage with the inking, but that's okay. I'm going to stamp it twice to make it nice. So I'm going to stamp this one more time and try to fill in any of those areas that didn't get good ink coverage. You just got to take your time when you're inking such a large area and make sure you got everything covered. But this second time around really did a number. That Juniper is like pa-pow. Look at that. You could stop right here. I love the little bit of white space that it leaves. I think it looks beautiful, but I'm going to go ahead and fill out this pattern. I rotate the panel one last time so that 4 is in the upper right corner on the jig. Clean off the stamp and bring in one final color. Now, since I had so much color going on already, I didn't want to compete or overdo it, so I brought in a neutral. This is another new color called Cobblestone. It's kind of a, I would call it a cool gray, I guess. And it pairs perfectly with anything. Sometimes when you want to bring in another color, but you don't want to overdo it, bring in a neutral. Okay, and there you have Cobblestone. So I felt like it was looking a little bit splotchy, but I'm going to ink it twice. You know what I say? Stamp it twice to make it nice. And then I probably didn't need to stamp it twice. I probably just needed to wait a minute to let it dry, but I am not regretting how this little thing turned out. Look at that. It's like velvety retro gorgeousness. Okay, here's another panel that I just did all in one color. I used honeycomb, and I love this so much. All the different looks that you can achieve just depending on the different color choices that you make. Okay, here's a couple cards that I've created. I used that honeycomb background and put a big hugs die from the Just Say More dies, couple enamel dots. And I used the shadow backer for the big hugs to make like a window, give you a little play on dimension. Now this one here, I use that big wonky heart from the Just Say More dies and a sentiment from the triple step Posy print. And that is the introduction to the Mod Turnabout Stamp. Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the new triangle background dies with Concord 9th. And this fabulous geometric die set is just enough to make my heart go pitter patter. So this is a full card panel, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And it gives you this kind of a faux dotted, faux stitching triangular pattern. And then up top you have these rows of triangle, like I don't want to say they're border dies, but they're rows of triangles that cut little mini triangles. So you run them through with your solid color cardstock, and then you can layer on all these little triangles onto your triangular background pattern. Mix and match the colors for 1,000,001 geometric pattern options. And you know, this was right up my geometric love and alley. So I had so much fun creating a couple cards to share with you featuring this triangle background die set. I also had a lot of fun mixing and matching all the new colors of solid color cardstock. They all play so well together. So for this one, I did the background out of Nectar. You can see all the beautiful colors of triangles, dragon fruit, carnation. And then I did a high out of matte gold and vellum from the Just Say More dies. Now this card here, I love this pattern. 6 colors of cardstock with those triangles and just repetition. Now I wanted to show you quick. I'm going to get more in depth in this swatch book, but this is where my color combination inspiration came from for this card. So you can see clementine, spice cider, cayenne, sea glass, tide pool, and juniper. But if you do 6 colors in your swatch book, you can use any one of these combinations to create a different look with this same exact pattern. I also embossed a Hooray, which is from the Triple Step Posy Print Stamp Set. And it's just giving me desert, Arizona, Santa Fe kind of vibes. So that's the introduction to the new triangle background dies with Concord 9th. Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the new Triple Step Posy Print Stamp Set along with the Triple Step Posy Print Die Set. This is a beautiful layering stamp set, and there's also several sentiments in it as well. Now the Triple Step Posy Print Die Set is mini, but it packs a mighty punch, and I'll show you all the die cuts in a second. I want to take a minute to talk about the layering stamp set. There's 3 large layers: the stems, the blooms, and the centers of the blooms. There's also several sentiments. What do we got? Smile, hooray, thinking of you, thank you, love you. And then for the die cuts, I'll show you what they all look like. The one thing I fell in love with is this scripty hello. It's dainty, delicate, and beautiful. You get these little stems and little blooms you can do in a bunch of different colors. You put the bloom on the stem, make a row of blooms, and then you get the teeny tiny little die here that creates the centers for the posies. Of course, you don't have to use them for the center of a posy. You could just scatter them around on a background like a polka dot, but they also work great in the middle of a posy. Okay, now for the stamped and die cut sentiments. You've got thank you here. I stamped that in parsley. And you've got hooray. I stamped that in clover onto clover cardstock. You've got the thinking of you, stamped that in sorbet. And then last, you have the scripty smile. Just a perfect little sentiment. You wouldn't think all these little sentiments would look so good on solid color cardstock, but they do. Now I want to demonstrate the Triple Step Posy Print layering stamp set to show you how easy it is to put together. These are large stamps. This is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of white cardstock loaded onto my MISTI, and I'm going to ink this up. So since these are the stems, I'm going to ink them up with lemongrass. You can use a lot of different colors. You could even make it two-tone. You can ink up one side with lemongrass, ink up the other side with parsley. Get like a two-tone field of posies. And by the way, just want to mention that the new Concord 9th inks stamp like butter. It had to be said. Okay, I'm going to clean off that stamp and line up the posy blooms. You just got to make sure that they line up with the stems. It's easy to do since they're clear acrylic. Once you get that lined up, flip your MISTI door, and I'm going to ink up with carnation. Now, I'm not really sure if there's pink posies. I think they're red, but I'm not really sure. I didn't Google it, but you know what? There's no posy police out there. You just stamp these up whatever color your heart desires. So we've got some carnation posies. Going to clean that up, and then now the last and final step is the little posy centers. Now there's not going to be a center for every single bloom. It's kind of random. You just want to make sure that it's lined up so those centers are in the center of the bloom. This time I'm inking up with dragon fruit, which might be my number one. It's between dragon fruit and lemongrass. Those are my favorite two colors of the new colors. And look at how pretty and kind of whimsical and effortless that was to stamp a background of posies. And there you have the triple step posy print. Now I've created a couple cards with these. I had so much fun. I mean, it's just really effortless. Look at this one here. I did the multi-tone. So one side of the stems was, I believe, lemongrass and the other was parsley. And then I did a multi-bloom. Look at this one here, just using only the die cuts and all that delicious solid color cardstock. I embossed the smile in white on black. And that is the introduction to the new triple step Posy print stamp and dies. Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the new Swatchbook Bundle with Concord 9th. And this includes a Swatchbook Bundle stamp set along with the Swatchbook Bundle die set. And on the back of the packaging, it kind of shows you an example of what the swatches could look like if you choose to do that. Now there's also a color chart here with all the Concord 9th inks. I have laminated my color chart. On the back it shows the swatches and the bundles and all that. And you're going to refer to this time and time again. I highly recommend laminating it, getting familiar with the colors and the names and how they work together. Now as far as the stamp set, there's the color combo Swatchbook title. There's all the colors of all the Concord 9th inks. This solid rectangle allows you to swatch out your inks. There's a few sentiments for fun that you could use on your swatchbook, or you could use them to create cards. Now for the die set, there's a large tag. I die cut this out of just some white, and this is what you're going to add your swatches to. There's a couple of hole protectors. I'm not sure if that's a word for it, but there's a few different options. This one here, it die cuts two, one for the front of the tag and one to go on the back side of the tag. And this just kind of reinforces the holes and protects them. It also looks good too. There's another style option, just a solid kind of circle there. Pardon my scratched up wrists. My arms are all scratched from the new little kitty my son brought home. So, and then this die here cuts all the little rectangular swatches out of solid color cardstock. And I did just a bunch of random colors here for an example. There's also two little dies over on the left, and those are called spacers. So I wanted to show you what those dies look like on the back side. This smaller one here, the skinnier one, says Spacer 2, and this one is Spacer 1. Now these you can use to get consistent, even spacing with your die cut swatches. The smaller one is when you want to swatch out 6, and the thicker one is good when you want to swatch out 5 swatches. So again, on the back of the packaging, it shows you on the left, here's a swatch of 5. Over on the right, this is a swatch tag with 6. You can do 4, you can do 3, you can do 2. Whatever your heart desires, whenever a color combination that you see or comes to mind and you want to remember it, swatch it out. And you want to remember those color combinations that work well together. And these are great for inspiration and also just great for familiarizing yourself with colors. So this little, I'm using that skinny spacer. I got to admit, when I did my swatches, I don't think I even bothered to use the spacers. I use what you call the redneck eyeball it technique. But you know what? The spacer is going to make you look professional and make you look like you mean business. Now here's the thicker spacer. Now that would work well if you're spacing out 5 swatches. Okay, so here's just 6. I'm just laying them out as an example. You could adhere these with tape runner or glue. Now all the names of the inks, you could stamp those right on the swatch like this. You could stamp them underneath the swatch like so for a different look. And I'll show you my little swatch book here. I only have about 6 started, but I love it so far. There's also the ring that holds it all together. It's a nice quality sturdy ring. You can have there's a 2-pack of rings in the Concord 9th website that you can buy. Okay, stamp the title on the front. Now these are all my color combinations. I did 6 because I just love the colors so much, and each one of these kind of gives me a different feel, a different vibe. This one's giving me nautical, and these are going to be great for future inspiration. And this one here is like a pond on a sunny day, I don't know. It's just, I get a feel. Now, this one here's like warm fuzzies. And that top dragon fruit, that just gets me out of bed in the morning. And this whole color combination is just warm and fuzzy. This one here is giving me Arizona desert. That inspired a card that I already showed with the triangle background dies. This one here's like beachy, Florida, summer, shorts on the beach. I don't know, but I love it. And again, these can be used with any brands of inks and cardstocks that you want to use to organize. And that is the introduction to the new Swatchbook Bundle with Concord 9th.